Welcome to Tiny NH House. Today is the 6th of July. I drove up here this morning for the week, do some work at the cabin. First order of business today is to get this cell phone booster installed, which I just purchased. These are all the parts that came in the box. On the far right there, that's the outside antenna, which I have to install on the west wall of the cabin. Next over is the inside antenna, followed by a power supply, and then the next piece is the actual electronics that boosts the signal that gets plugged into the power supply and hooked with those cables above to the antenna. Just to the left of the booster is a strip of cable that is flat that will supposedly run under the window. I'll try it that way first. And just above the external antenna is mounting hardware. So all this came with the kit. And then I also bought, for under 20 bucks, this small antenna mounting kit. It's got an aluminum rod, bracket, and clamps. So I'll put this up on the outside first and then attach the external antenna to this. So let's get started. So this bracket is attached with 4 machine screws. Can't really see it, but in the hole there's a white substance which I think is sealant, and 3 of these went in easy, but this one over here I had a heck of a time getting it down in there. But I took the bracket off and I just worked on that one machine screw by itself, and I finally got it to go in. Got to look at the instructions carefully, because they give you regular washers and they give you lock washers, and there's no words to tell you where which ones go. If you take a magnifying glass and look at the picture, it'll show you. So just tighten this down, and then this part will be ready. I'll go up, get the ladder, attach the mounting bracket for the aluminum pole, and then that will attach to this. So that's good. And they give you this bracket to mount to the pole. In my case, I think you mount it this way, because a pole would come up there. We'll see. Well, I got the external antenna up there, and everything seems to be working. Initially I put the antenna up just next to the window, to the left of the window. And I hooked everything up, and it didn't work. So the only thing I can think of is the direction I had the antenna pointed was actually into the roof, and the metal roof was canceling out the signal, because I have to point the antenna toward the closest cell phone tower. So I moved it to the front. I was actually kind of disappointed. I moved it to the front of the cabin, hooked it up, and it's been working. with the antenna on the front of the cabin, the cell booster actually works. I've gone from essentially 0 bars up to about 2 bars of reception. It still fades in and out from time to time, so I need to test it some further. But so far so good. So I performed an experiment today. When the antenna was on the front of the cabin, I'd get 1 or 2 bars LTE, and then it would fade and drop down to 3G, like 0 bars 3G, and then LTE would pick up again, and it would kind of alternate like that. So I said to myself, let's see if some additional height works. So I jury-rigged this temporary support for the antenna. And sure enough, now I get LTE all the time, and it varies between 1 and 5 bars. Signal goes up and down, but it stays in LTE now. So I need to look into getting a mast that I can attach to the side of the building and get this antenna up here mounted permanently, because then I'll have good reception. So this experiment was a success. Well, I moved the antenna up to the peak of the roof, screwed it in, did a test run with it up there. I'm getting 2 to 4 bars of LTE service consistently. I actually tried it for an hour last night, and there was no dropped service at all. So this is going to work really well for communications. Today I put the spreader bar on the ladder, on the big ladder. I like being on the ladder with the spreader bar, but I hate putting it on and putting the ladder up because it adds weight to that end, and trying to get that ladder up by myself is a lot of fun. So prior to today, I had the siding about halfway up that window. So today I measured and cut again the siding to bring it up to the top, and we'll finish the piece tomorrow, a couple pieces on top, and then I'll drill through the side of the house and run the coax in that way. This kit comes with a thin piece of coax that you can put underneath the window, but I'd rather just run the coax straight through. Figure it's less losses that way. So that's the update on the cell antenna. This is where I left off last time with my trench. So I'm going to continue up to the cabin. What I've decided to do is to run the power from the solar panels directly into the basement onto a panel. And I'll have my charge controller, all my electronics there, my circuit breakers and all. And then I'll route a cable out to the battery box to connect up to the batteries. got the rest of the trench dug. Put a piece of pipe in just for a test fit. It should work out nice. So now I gotta find the connector to go in through the house there and drill a pilot hole, see where I end up, and then drill a 3/4 inch hole for the conduit to go in. Luckily, the sun's not out today. It's really humid. It'd be a killer if the sun was out. So this will be my power panel down in the basement. Just put up a couple of 2x4s and some plywood. The main line from the solar panels is going to come in just to the right of the soil stack and then come down to the panel, to the circuit breakers, and then to the charge controller. Then I'll mount my pure sine wave inverter on this as well, and any other circuit breakers that I need. Gives me plenty of room to lay things out. Drilled hole for the conduit going through the wall. Here's the box. Go on there. Something like that. And then stay. And then the conduit will come up into that. So now I gotta measure out my wire. I just measured out 40 feet of 8-gauge wire, the red stuff there. I marked the ends with electrical tape because I get one 100-foot roll, so I'm going to use it for both positive and negative, and this way I'll know which wire is which. This is my test for the length of the wire. So it comes in up there and runs down to the panel. I'll secure that better for the final product, but that looks good. Here's my outside wire length test. So I got a couple extra feet up there, so I think that's the right length. We'll go with this and cut the other one too. Then put it in the conduit, glue them up, and be done. I got the wires pulled through the conduit, and I'm starting to glue it up now. A lot nicer using this stuff outside than inside the cabin. I can breathe. The last joint's always the trickiest one, because you gotta make sure that that riser piece of conduit is at 90 degrees and going straight up. But get it done. It's in the ground. Wires run. So now we'll start backfilling before it rains.